When I tell you that liberalism and woke agendas are absolutely dangerous to your health, it matters. Welcome back to Common Sense with Brian Christine. I'm here to talk about what matters and tell you why it matters. We've seen the rise in violent crime in cities like Atlanta and New York and Chicago. You remember that the Democratic mayor of Seattle about a year ago said, it's going to be a summer of love. Yep, violent crime through the roof. What do these cities have in common? What they have in common are Democrat liberal mayors and district attorneys who push a woke agenda, who want to release thugs without giving bail, who want to defund the police, and are ready to blame things on you and me, good law-abiding citizens. And of course, what they also want to do is they want to trample all over our constitutional rights to defend ourselves with firearms. But I'm talking about something different today. I'm talking about how the left wants to radically change how we train doctors and nurses, how we develop and research new medications, and how the left wants Washington to take over healthcare. When I went to medical school, we spent our time studying anatomy and physiology and the chemistry of the human body. Our time in and out of the classroom was devoted to being able to recognize disease, being able to diagnose disease, and how to treat disease in people. But now medical schools and nursing schools are spending more and more time having students in classes trying to convince them of the lie that medical care in the United States is somehow systemically racist. Instead of spending time with patients, or spending time in the operating room, or spending time in the hospital, more time is being taken away from those things, and they're having to take equity and diversity classes. I have been practicing medicine and surgery for over 30 years, and I will tell you, I have never once seen a nurse or a doctor not treat a patient because they were some race or another. I have never once seen a hospital kick out a patient because they were black or brown or Asian. It doesn't happen. Healthcare in America is not systemically racist. But the young physicians that are coming along today, it's being drilled into them, that's the case, and they have to do something about it. The generation of physicians that are being educated now, they can't stand to hear something different than they believe. They can't stand to have someone have a different opinion than theirs. They won't tolerate it, and that doesn't make for good health care. This past week, dozens of medical students at the University of Michigan School of Medicine actually stood up and walked out of a lecture given by Dr. Kristen Collier. Now, who's Kristen Collier? She's a professor of internal medicine, and she's recognized as being an outstanding physician and a really good educator. She cares about the students. But she's also something that the woke culture can't stand. She is a former atheist and pro-choice woman who actually found God. She allowed herself to be touched by a higher power and calling, and now she's a Christian who believes in and stands up for the sanctity of life, and she's not afraid to talk about it. So because these medical students don't like her stand on abortion, because they don't like the fact that she's willing to talk about religion and faith, they actually stood up and they walked out of this lecture as she was walking to the podium. They didn't even give her a chance. But here's the thing. Her talk wasn't at all about abortion. Her talk wasn't at all about religion. What she was talking to these physicians in learning about was she was trying to tell them that you're taking care of people. As she said, you're not just taking care of a bag of blood and bones. You're taking care of humans. You have to treat them with respect. You have to care about them. That's what a real physician does. She was telling them, you're blessed to do what you do. It's a privilege to take care of men and women and children. So study hard, learn well, learn how to treat people like people. She never once mentioned the term abortion. She never once talked about her Christian faith. Never once. She was telling these folks how to be really good doctors. I'll tell you, those medical students that stayed and listened to Dr. Collier are going to be much better physicians than those intolerant, woke, cancel culture brats that got up and walked out. And I'll tell you, if you're a medical student who walked out of a lecture like this, when you finally get to be a doctor, don't come to Alabama. We don't want you. We don't need you. So not only is the left trying to change the way we train physicians, but they also want to have a greater hand and take over healthcare in America. Just this week, the U.S. Senate passed the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, Part of that act gives the government power to, quote, negotiate with pharmacies to reduce Medicare prescription drug costs. And that all sounds like a great thing. And I realize that sometimes the high cost of medications can be a problem for patients, particularly the elderly. And when they say negotiate, what they really mean is the government is going to be able to force pharmaceutical companies to take lower and lower prices for their prescription drugs. If the pharmaceutical companies don't accept the negotiated price, then they have to pay a 95% tax on the medications that they sell to Medicare. Now listen, I understand that the high cost of prescription drugs can be a problem for patients, and particularly the elderly. But if we let the government control healthcare to such an extent that they absolutely limit the profits that pharmaceutical companies can make, then the companies have no incentive to invest in developing other medications. You know, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money, and it takes a lot of effort for a drug company to research and develop, for instance, a new chemotherapy that can save lives. If the companies can't make a profit because the government is not paying them enough, then they're not going to invest. So there's a problem with too much government control in healthcare. But if we let the government control healthcare in America, we are going to have a healthcare system like they have in Great Britain or like they have in Canada. And I will tell you, in those countries, the survival rates of prostate cancer and breast cancer are lower than the United States. I will tell you that the wait times for surgery and for treatment are absolutely longer than in the United States. And I will tell you, in government-controlled healthcare systems, there absolutely is a rationing of healthcare to the elderly. We don't want that here in the United States. There is no question about it. Liberals and the woke agenda are absolutely dangerous to your health. Thanks for watching this today. Please share this video on my website with your friends and your family and people who are concerned. We have to stand together and we have to fight wokeism. I'll see you next time on Common Sense with Brian Christine.